Welcome to Thienletics, a mental, physical, and emotional health podcast. My name is Tommy, and together with my good buddy Alec, we're going to talk about our journey through this thing called life. We hope our stories and conversations inspires anyone out there that they are not alone in their struggles and that we're in this together. It is our mission to do our best towards helping to promote better physical, emotional, and mental well-being by not just creating a brighter future, but a brighter present also.
At the end of the day, we want to give a gentle reminder that it's okay to struggle, it's okay to fall, and it's okay to stumble. As long as we keep trying, that's all that really matters. And it's important to remember, you're loved and you're never alone. We can get through this together. Let's get started. Today's topic, COVID?
Life.
Life and COVID?
Life.
All right.
So, I recently went to anime convention. It was Anime Matsuri. It was pretty hype. Have you ever been to an anime convention?
No, I'd love to go though. I would love to. It looks so cool.
Why didn't you come?
Well, I mean, I didn't know there wasn't going to be a convention until last minute, and I was like, well, I might as well just chill. He can tell me about it.
Okay, that's fair.
Also, I don't have a cosplay. I can't just go myself. I look so plain.
There's actually a lot of people that just go by themselves. Like they just go, they don't dress up. I would say like 40% of people are just regular humans at the convention.
But that also leaves like the 60% of people that look cool.
If
Think
you could,
about
if you
it.
could cosplay as somebody, who would you cosplay as?
I told you this. I'd probably dress up as you Omanai from Spriggan. But I don't know anybody else I could pull off. Bro, I'm short. I can't pull off an Ichigo. I'm too short.
Well, that's the thing about cosplaying. It shouldn't matter what your race or your height or even your gender. Because, I mean, there's gender bends of cosplays.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So as long as you can rock the cosplay, it doesn't matter how tall or how short you are.
You gave me inspiration to work out harder so I could be Inosuke.
Yeah,
I
you
got
be
the
Inosuke.
flexibility down. I just need the physique and the costume and I'm done.
The other thing is like, I mean, one thing that you could lean into is like the personality. I don't know if you have Inosuke's personality.
No,
You
I
know?
don't, unfortunately.
My first ever cosplay, I went as Persona 3, the protagonist.
Persona 3.
It's a video game.
I hate to say it, I've never looked into that game.
So Persona is a really popular JRPG series nowadays, especially with Persona 5. I mean, to the point where he's like a character in Super Smash Brothers now. Going to the Persona 3 protagonist, I really like the story of of that game because like imagine like an emo guy.
Oh, no.
So this is a high school setting. He's an emo guy. His backstory is his parents died of like a tragic accident and he doesn't exactly know why it happened. It was kind of like a freak accident. He looks very emo and he gets visited by basically death, and death kind of makes a deal with him where he gets like these special powers and he kind of goes through the story. But what I like about it is, like, spoiler alert, at the end of the game, like, he basically saves the world,
Oh, snap.
which is
We
really
love-
insane because so a persona is basically your inner self.
Mm,
So whenever it comes to psychology, they have this thing where it's like you have your persona and you have kind of like your shadow. And the game kind of ties that in. You fight shadows, which is, in psychology, I guess your shadow would be like your ego, dark thoughts, such, etc., etc.
basically the negativity in your life.
I guess, kind of. It's hard to say because I don't know if your ego is 100% negative. Because, I mean, do you think pride is negative?
In certain circumstances, yes.
Yeah, right. But that's the thing, like, is it in all circumstances though?
Mm, I don't believe pride should be a bad thing. It's almost like a limit that we should put ourselves to. Because there's people with too much pride and little pride. You know what I mean? So if you have that sweet spot, you'll be fine. But if you go anything over, no bueno.
I
No
don't know if
bueno.
pride is useful at all, actually. So maybe you're right. From what you were saying earlier, how your shadow is just purely negative, maybe it is just purely negative. Because I don't consider being prideful, like, there's a difference between being prideful and having confidence in yourself. And I don't want to, like, mix those two things.
You're right.
Being proud does not mean you have pride, in my opinion.
Yeah. If you're proud of yourself, that's a good thing because you're It's like positive reinforcement to yourself. But pride is almost kind of like a negative reinforcement in the sense that you're overly proud of yourself.
When you think about pride, it's like I can't imagine a time where you're like, yeah, just have some pride. And it's just like, I think that's kind of the verbiage. I mean, it makes sense, but I don't think it's like the best verbiage. Where if you were to say, like, have some confidence in yourself or have some self love for yourself, to me, I think that's more acceptable. When I think about pride, I think about ego and I think about people that they think they're always right. They are very unwilling to adapt to new ideas. They're not very open-minded people. So, what were we talking about again? Oh, Persona 3.
Persona 3.
So going back,
we went on a large tangent there.
Yeah. So going back to Persona 3. So, I like the game a lot because the character, he's kind of, I don't want to say like he's pretty depressed. I don't want to say super suicidal. There's never a point where he gets suicidal, but a lot of what he does and like the way he interacts with people is points him kind of towards like just being very depressed. Like he doesn't really see the point in life. So at the end of the game, he realizes like he makes a lot of friends, he opens up more, and he realizes the value of life. And at the end of the game, his persona becomes the Messiah persona.
Oh.
So the Messiah persona is like one of the strongest personas in the game. He ends up sacrificing his life to protect the world in a way. The final boss of the game is like this entity where if enough people in the world, if they wish for the world to end, he will come and end the world. So the protagonist, he ends up literally becoming like a shield, and he shields Earth from the entity from like reaching the Earth to like destroy it. So to me, it's really crazy where it's just like someone that's pretty suicidal / depressed ends up realizing how important life is and ends up like valuing it and saving everyone.
Man, we love character development. We love to see it.
Dude, I love character development. So very long story, but the whole point is that was my first character I cosplayed, and it was so fun. I remember going to the convention. I went with my friend Caitlin, and we're walking around, and can we name drop friends? Yeah, we could name drop friends.
Yeah,
we could name drop friends. Yeah. So I went with my friend Caitlin, and we're walking around the convention, and like every once in a while, like I'll just hear persona, like someone will just yell persona, like because that's what they say whenever they summon their persona to fight battles and stuff.
Sure.
So I'm just like walking around and then just having those little interactions with people, because at that time I think Persona 3 wasn't that popular anymore. So to me it was like kind of niche. So having a lot of people see the niche and recognize and like, oh hey, that's the protagonist right there. It felt good, man. It felt really good.
I know you love that hype. Everybody going around while you walking. Persona!
Imagine like liking something really niche. What's something that you really like that's like kind of niche?
I'm not that type of person to just walk around and like find it, but if I hear somebody else that likes what I like, I'll point it out.
What do you think that you like that is kind of, that would you consider kind of like undergroundish?
Well, I mean, I can't say it's underground because they hella popular, but Twice. I remember going to Chicago. A guy was just eating in his car, and he was listening to the latest Twice album. I was like, hey, yo, stream it. And he knew what I was talking about. In that moment, I was like, this is awesome. I'm meeting people from different areas in the world that like what I like. But I mean, I can't just go around dressed up as like a Twice fanboy, because it's like my closet personality.
Exactly, right? So when it comes to anime, about 10 years ago, it was kind of like a closet interest. So being able to walk around and just like there is no shame because you're literally going to a convention where it's like you're supposed to celebrate it. So imagine going to like a Twice convention where everyone just like loves Twice. Like you can feel the energy. And what's really special is, you know, that interaction you had with that guy that was like, stream it. Oh, did you say stream it?
I stream it. I said stream it.
Oh, you said stream it?
And they were just eating lunch in his car, and I went up to him, hey, yo, stream it for me. Stream it. And he knew what I was talking about, and he streamed it for me. I was like, yo, hype.
So imagine finding someone like that at the convention, and then it's kind of like that experience where you just have that connection with somebody.
It's really hype. I can kind of relate. I can't relate to the same scenarios, but I can relate to it in a different sense.
I only like to go to anime conventions maybe like once a year. I mean, the culture is really different. It is true that like body odor is a problem
Oh,
at anime conventions.
I
It's
thought that was some sort of myth or something going around,
well,
but
there's a lot of people, all right? There is a lot of people, and people are in costumes the whole day. Like,
definitely.
some people will walk around the whole 12 hours. So maybe that can contribute to it. The other is it does kind of attract a certain, I guess, group of people.
Oh,
Just like people that are like neats. Do you know what a neat is actually?
it's like a very sheltered person, right? They don't necessarily have a life. That's what I know it as.
Neat used to be like abbreviation where it's like you're not in education, you're not working, and you're not in. So it's like N would be not working, E is education, E again is I don't know what that is maybe, but the other I think T is training.
Not in
So
employment, education, or training.
oh, employment. So employment, education, training. So yeah,
Yeah.
like you're kind of just not part of society essentially.
But, like, I hate to say it like this, but although they're not in employment, education, or training, but they're still going to conventions, I'm not sure if that's like a good thing or a bad thing because they're still going out, but they're also still not going out, you know?
I want to say it's a good thing because there's so many people out there that they're kind of recluses.
Hmm.
And it's kind of that one time during the year where they can go out and actually interact with people or at least just be around people.
Hmm.
So as much as the BO is pretty strong, I still I still welcome them. I would want them to come. But I
That's
think
what's
that's the
up.
only negative,
That's
honestly.
the only con to the situation. Oh, I do know about some another group of people that go to anime conventions with a very perverse mindset.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, and
What actually whenever you
yikes.
said that, I was like, "Oh wait, never mind. There's more negatives."
More negatives.
So, the other thing that is like troubling is you find people that they don't really have social etiquette, which makes sense because if you don't interact with a lot of people, then how do you know how to act around people?
Yeah.
And some people that are at these conventions, they don't really have interactions with the opposite gender.
Oof. Oof.
So I think they're just like, what do I do? That female is very beautiful. What do I do? And some people they they do some cringy things, man. They do some cringy things.
So I've heard, I see it on like social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram. I understand they don't go out, so they wouldn't understand the social cues. But like at the same time, isn't there a sense of like mental boundaries in which they don't know are there?
No, I mean boundaries. Like they,
What's a boundary?
what is that? Yeah, there's no way
What
they
is?
know there is no way they know the definition of boundaries.
I don't know. I really want to go to one though. I
Yeah,
really want to go to anime convention. I just don't know what I would dress up as. Because I do want to participate in the cosplay aspect, but I don't know what to dress up as.
I mean, going back to the pros of it, there is a lot of pros too. I mean, you get to meet people, and honestly, the shopping is impeccable because all of these artists, they pour their work into the convention, and generally, it's kind of like the most popular anime of the year. They'll have merch for it.
Mm,
And the thing about anime merch is usually when an anime comes out, it takes like a year or two for there to be like good merch. I think Demon Slayer got really popular during the like around pandemic era. And I remember thinking like, man, I really want to buy like a Nezuko figure or a Tanjiro figure or a Rengoku figure. But they didn't have any at that time. And it
oh
came out like
man.
a year and a half later. And now, I mean, there's a bunch of figures for Demon Slayer now. But during that first year, they have to like, I would imagine you have to design the figures and then you have to produce the figures. And that takes a lot
Yeah.
of work. So it's kind of like a good way of having merch for animes that you really liked So Spy Family was probably one of the most popular animes that came out this year,
Yeah.
and they had a lot of Spy Family stuff, and it was nice. It was nice to see.
I know this is gonna sound weird, but did you see any buff Anyas out there?
No, I did not
Oh,
see.
what? Because I always see it on TikTok. I'm like, I want to encounter one. I need to encounter one right now.
Dude, you can go as like a buff female character for one of
Buff
your
Paimon. Buff Paimon.
buff Paimon.
I don't know. I'm as we're talking about it, I'm trying to figure out what I can cosplay as, and nothing's coming into mind.
Well, actually, what's really funny is I see a lot of dudes. They dress up as maids.
Oh no. It's gonna be the universe. I'm in the maid Alec.
I mean, I don't know, dude. I've never cross dressed in my life, but now that I'm kind of saying it into reality, I'm like, I think I would like to do it just once.
Just once.
Just once.
Bruh.
I'm pretty open minded. I don't care. Like I'm very comfortable with my masculinity now that I'm like older. I really don't care. I might do it.
Not that about dressing up as a Demon Slayer member. Like, you know, the normal foot soldiers? Not like the pillars, but the actual soldiers. Just to go out.
Yeah, we
I
can just be
think,
just
what's
soldiers.
his name? Murata? The one that always gets his ass whooped?
Hey man, he's a good character.
He's my favorite character. That's the best part, though. He gets his ass whooped. Like, he's just still out there. That motivation.
He's still trying. He's still trying. What
Man.
else about anime conventions?
Ooh. So, anime conventions. How long do you typically stay for? Like you know how you go to convention? Is there like a time limit? Like, oh, we're open for like, I don't know, 7 hours.
So anime conventions are generally like 4 day events,
Mhm.
3 to 4 day events for sure. So they'll have Thursday. I guess even I would imagine big events they might even start like Wednesday. So it would be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And generally Friday and Saturday is the days where it's like the best time to go. Saturday is the best day to go, obviously, but Friday is pretty good too. I think that it just depends on how much you like anime. If you really like anime, I believe that the whole experience is worth it.
Mhm.
But if you're just like a casual anime fan, just come Saturday.
Man, I really want to go, but I'm still trying to figure it out. Like, when I think of anime cosplays, I have to meet the requirements. If they're like 6 foot, I can't be them. So it's like scratch off the list, and I'm like trying to narrow it down. So far, the closest thing I could be right now, if I shave my head, is Krillin from Dragon Ball.
Well, that,
Destructo disc.
well, that's the thing. I mean, I think that's the beauty of cosplay that you can be literally just any person and you can cosplay as them and no one will bat an eye. So I definitely don't think you should restrict yourself in any way. I mean, we can go as maids
My God,
again.
man, I never thought I'd be that way, but we did watch Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. And I'm like, that's the multiverse I'm in right now.
How so?
The maid Alec. I'm in that universe now.
Oh, the maid universe.
Yeah. And I'm in that universe.
Dang, I can't believe you brought that up, man. I love that movie so much.
It
I wanna
is a
talk
really
about
good
it.
movie.
I want to talk about it. We'll talk about it.
We got the time to talk about it. This podcast will be everlasting. So much content.
So, what do you think about it?
It's a hell of a movie. I'm telling you, after you showed me that first night, I've been wanting to rewatch it, but I also wanted to savor the feeling. Because, after a while, if you rewatch a movie too many times, it becomes boring.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I'm eating dinner. I came back from the gym. Let me relax. And I sat there and watched it all. And it was amazing.
I
From
think
start
I've
to
watched
beginning.
it 3 times.
3 times.
Yeah, I've watched it 3 times. I watched it once with my sister, and then we're like, that shit was so good. Let's go watch it again. So we
Oh
went to
my
go
God.
watch. I went to go watch it with her again, with her boyfriend, and it was still really great. And then, my third time was watching it with you, and I really love the movie. It's so rare. I am 29 now, and I've never watched a movie or a TV show that ever encapsulated the Asian American experience. And watching the main character Evelyn talk, kind of how she mixes her Mandarin with her English, like it's like broken English.
Yeah.
Like I I think that just hearing that was so comforting in its own way.
I can kind of agree because I mean I know some people in my family they have that accent. Is it English? Is it that's what it's called now? Like it makes it Vietnamese English.
I have no idea. I have no idea what you're
Well, it's
talking
like a
about.
little merge. So whenever I hear, I'm like, wow, that sounds like one of my aunties or my uncles
I have very good English.
English.
Yeah.
That's what's up. That's
I
what's up.
mean, I basically have the vocabulary of a second grader when it comes to speaking Vietnamese.
Oh,
So, I mean, I gotta mix stuff like I don't know. I don't know if there's a word for computer in Vietnamese.
yeah, I wouldn't know. Might be
Computer.
computer. I, I don't know, bro. I can't really speak Viet, but when I do, I fail because it just sounds so off pronunciation wise. I have no confidence with it. So it's like, how do I explain it properly? It's like speaking Vietnamese with an English accent. You know, there's certain tones whenever you speak Viet.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it
I
just doesn't work right.
The Vietnamese language is it's interesting, you know. It's
Hmm.
it's not exactly the most elegant language, but it's it's all good. It's all good.
But yeah, man, I'm telling you, I watched that movie and I cried again. I was like, why am I tearing up at this?
Why are you tearing up?
It's just the emotions being felt. Like you can feel the frustrations. Like spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. But at the end, whenever she's expressing her feelings to Joy, just the mist. It started forming around my eyes. I'm like, all right, I'll power through the rest of the scene. And then I guess the confrontation, how she felt with Joy's situation, my stomach kind of sunk. Because it's almost like, there's a certain boundary in the movie where Evelyn couldn't talk to Joy. You know what I mean?
At which part?
Just the entire movie. It's
Oh,
like
just a barrier.
yeah, just a barrier. And then like,
Yeah.
it's almost like a hard truth tsunami coming at Joy. Like, whoosh, all the emotions being pressed on. But at the end, they reconcile and they kind of like, they're on the same wavelength at the same time. They're understanding each other. And it just kind of, it hit me different because I do have those moments with my mom and vice versa. I can definitely relate to it.
Yeah.
So it just, I'm telling you, I got misty eyed for real. I'm like, it's getting over my chicken rice, the proteins.
I think it's more of yeah, it's more of like a barrier. And I know that that's evident in just the parent-child relationship where at some point you grow up and your parents they're not able to understand you anymore. And if anything, sometimes you start realizing that they don't understand you either. And it's like it's frustrating.
Definitely.
And that's what Joy went through during the movie. Um,
Oh man.
the fact that you talked about the barrier, it's kind of poetic in a way because the climax of the movie is literally called empathy, and empathy is basically the the barrier that's broke. It's the barrier that becomes broken because Evelyn's feelings finally got to Joy, and if anything, during the whole movie, Evelyn is trying to break into
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, Evelyn's trying to like break into Joy's emotions and understand her.
Hmm.
And over the movie, she's able to realize, oh, like this is how she feels. This is how she understands. Like this is what she's going through. And something that stuck with me from that movie, the line that stuck with me the most actually is it's like Evelyn says, "We're all just tiny pieces of shits floating across the galaxy, and none of this matters." And it's kind of like a response to what Joy was trying to tell her, where it's just like nothing matters. So if nothing matters, I just don't feel like existing anymore. Like there's no point to any of this.
Yeah.
But whenever Joy ends up saying that, man, I'm getting emotional thinking about it right now.
Oh shit.
But
It's alright,
she
tell me it's alright.
she says, none of this matters, and why go through life if you only have bits and pieces of where any of this makes sense? And it really resonated with me because growing up, most of my life, I'm like, none of this makes sense. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know who I'm supposed to be. I don't know who I'm supposed to like become. I don't know if I'm like I want to do good for the world, but am I doing good for the world? Like am I making a net positive at the end of the day?
Hmm.
Like I have all of these like existential life questions. And Evelyn responds to Joy and says, "You know, you're right. Like, none of this matters at all. And none of this even makes sense." I think that in the movie, it's kind of like told that it's kind of insinuated actually that Evelyn has like depression or like anxiety, a mix of both. I mean, some people say she has ADHD too, which I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
I think that's also a possibility, but Evelyn can't be present. So she definitely empathizes with Joy. And if anything, it's like, yeah, like I really understand you. Like none of this matters. But she ends the movie saying, well, none of this matters. And Joy says, why go through life if just for these tiny specks of moments where there's clarity, where you feel happy?
hmm
And I'm like, she said that, I was like, there are just certain points of my life now that I'm like 29 now. I'm like, there's certain points of my life where I'm like, wow, I'm truly happy during this moment. But then for months at a time, some years, I'm just like, wow, I'm just struggling for
definitely.
months on end.
Yeah,
And Evelyn says, well, if we just have these tiny glimmers where things make sense, then I will just cherish it.
that movie's so freaking beautiful. Because like, I remember thinking about my own depression, anxiety, and I'm like, why do I do this to myself? And so I kind of just I did my own workshop. I was like, what brings me the most depression so far? And I was like, life, school, my own success, my progress. And then it came to a point where I was very dissatisfied with what I had now. And it kind of hurt me in a way because I'm where I'm at today because of it. Like, I'm actually growing from it because I'm learning from my mistakes. And so I've been telling myself this, I should be more content with what I have now. I'm content with what I have now, so I should be happy instead of being so sad about it. Instead of looking at my progress now and being depressed that I'm not where I am, where I'm supposed to be. I should be content with what I have now and work on it so I can move forward instead of holding myself back.
That's good, dude. I mean, that's exactly the type of mindset that will get you to just enjoy life a little bit more.
I mean, I've been telling you, man, I'm just trying to take care of myself. I'm trying to figure out what I need to do. It's actually working.
When I was younger, so like this is maybe early 2010s, like late 2000s, the way that people would say to beat anxiety or depression is like, well, just think positive.
Oh, hell
And
no. Well, I don't know.
right,
Hell no.
right. So your initial thought is like, hell no, like that's really dumb.
Yeah.
But it's kind of true.
Yeah. But like I don't know how many times I've heard that same phrase. Just be positive. It'll be okay. Be just think positive. That was at the worst parts in my life, and it didn't help at the moment. But now it actually is. So like, should I have really been mad in those moments?
I mean, I think that they were on the right track.
Definitely.
It's like I don't think that think positive is the right way to say it, but to do positive.
Yeah.
So a lot of therapy nowadays, when it comes to cognitive behavioral therapy, it's just literally doing things like literally physically saying out loud, what am I grateful for today? Like for today, I'm grateful that my parents are healthy. I'm grateful that I have a job. I'm grateful like I have a roof under that I'm living under a roof. Like little things that we take for granted. We have to physically say it. We have to actually breathe it into reality. And that's how you slowly kind of realize, oh wait, like life's not as like life is tough, but it doesn't have to be as tough as I'm making it.
It really be like that. It really does. That's literally one of my goals on Finch. Like my Finch tells me say something you're grateful for.
Finch, please sponsor it.
I haven't been keeping up with my Finch, but every day my boy Nelson, my little birdie Nelson, tells me some helpful advice. Like I'm there for you. It's okay. It's gonna be all right.
So Finch is like a self-care app where you kind of, what I use it the most is to create daily habits.
Mm-hmm.
You can use it to reflect on, make journal entries. You could write posts about things that you're grateful for. And it's kind of like a diary, but it comes in the form of like a little bird. And when I look at that little bird, I'm like, I don't want to let my little bird down, you know?
Yeah.
So it kind of, to me, I like it a lot because the bird's really cute and I want to continue to help it grow as a person.
Yeah.
and to just nurture it. And in some ways, it kind of just represents like myself. So I did name the bird after me. I named it my middle name, which is Sang. And I'm just like, I gotta take care of Sang. I gotta take care of me.
Mm-hmm.
So they're making self-care a little bit more fun.
It really is making it fun. But I like how you said you didn't want to let your bird down. I just didn't want mine to grow because it's so damn cute. I was like, bro, just stay small, man. We take it slow out here. But now my man's changing colors. He has a little pop collar open with a vest on, looking sleazy as hell.
Gotta
Man,
make progress, man. Gotta can't stay
he's got
cute
his
forever.
he got his own house and everything. But it's nice seeing him grow through my actions because it's like we're sharing the experience. He's growing. I'm creating nice daily habits, but it also just reminds me that I'm grateful for the things I have. Like I can wash my face, brush my teeth. I'm able to do those things physically, clean up my room, make it nice. I'm grateful that I have a room. Just all those things.
One of my habits is just saying one thing that I'm grateful for.
Mm-hmm.
I've been trying to do it every day. I got COVID last week, so I wasn't able to do any daily habits. I kind of just recovered. Just didn't really do much. I didn't have the energy to really create daily habits. It was a time.
It really was. I know how COVID
Let's talk
hits.
about COVID.
Ooh, TLDR. I became a hypochondriac.
Why?
When I got COVID, you see, I was in the gym taking care of myself,
Yeah.
which is ironic because I got COVID. It's the one thing that hurt me.
You know, I take that back. I shouldn't ask why. I should ask how.
How I got COVID.
Well,
I don't know how. I really don't know how.
I think it's more like how did you end up becoming a hypochondriac from COVID?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So, when you have COVID, it's not the best time. Maybe for some introverts, but for me, I just like going out at that moment. I like going to the gym. I like doing things I wanted to do. But
Yeah.
now I'm secluded in my four walls, watching things on my phone, sleeping for 12 hours a day, barely eating, having trouble breathing, feeling like crap.
I mean, 2020 was one of the most craziest years ever.
Yeah.
There's like a first, so many firsts.
Mhm.
There was a stage where there was no toilet paper.
Ooh.
There was a stage where people were hoarding hand sanitizer.
It's a lot of things that went down during COVID times, and it was pretty scary, honestly. Online school, yikes.
I just remember I had an argument with my dad because he was like, "Don't get near me," and I was like, "Dad, like we could only isolate for so much, like we can't isolate from everybody forever, like for the next year." And it kind of, I mean, domestic abuse cases went up very high during the COVID era, so it was a tough time.
It really was. But anyways, back to my hypochondriac talk. I felt like in the days I was quarantined, I was like, I gotta change. I gotta eat healthier. I gotta get my body's immune system up. I don't want to get sick again. I hate feeling sick. And I kept telling myself, do you want to feel like this again?
So what was your COVID experience first, actually?
Oh, bro. I felt like I was gonna die. I was very overdramatic. And that's when my anxiety peaked. My anxiety and depression peaked really hard because I kept telling myself, I don't think I'm gonna make it far in life. I was just by myself, talking so much shit to myself. Like, you won't make it far. Look what you're doing now. So I just sat there in my bed, just thinking about everything I've done wrong, things I should do.
Well, we were talking earlier today about how you were just laying in bed and you couldn't go to sleep and you're just overthinking.
Definitely.
Imagine so let's say you overthink like 2 to 4 hours whenever you can't sleep. So let's say you go to bed at 11 and you think till like 2 a.m. I think that's like the average overthink session. Imagine that stretched for a week or 2 weeks.
It was terrible, man.
Yeah.
Very terrible. Like, I kept telling myself, I'm not gonna make it far in life. I kept thinking about different career opportunities, and I was like, why? Why are you gonna go this far? You won't make it anyways.
So you just kind of like coped by just.
I wasn't even coping. I was like self-sabotaging myself for the entire week.
Oh, you're like I didn't. Well, that makes sense because you're like I'm so tired and I'm so weak. All the negative thoughts they just punch you, man, and you're just like, all right, I'm gonna just I'm gonna just curl in a ball. Just do your thing, man. Just do your thing.
Yeah. It's like my inner demons came out, And I remember just some moments where I was like, the fever was high. I was getting like very cold and hot at the same time. And I tried falling asleep and I just saw like multiple versions of myself in my room, like doing different things. I was like, what the that exact moment, I was like, I'm not gonna get sick again. I'm not getting this COVID shit. Nope. I'm wearing my mask. I'm taking care of myself. I'm gonna wash my hands everywhere I go.
I mean, it sounds like COVID was a really traumatic experience for you.
It really was, man. Every time I get sick, I'm like, God, I hope it's not COVID. I really hope it's not COVID this time. I'm telling you, that's why I still wear the mask at the gym, because it just, I'm not down for that moment again.
I think I wore my mask to the gym probably 6 months after they're like, hey, we don't have to wear a mask anymore. I still wore my mask.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I got COVID, I'm like, I don't know. I started to think, I'm like, maybe I should just wear my mask all the time again. So I gotta go find some like comfy masks to wear, because my second COVID experience was like absolutely terrible compared to my first.
Yeesh. I'm not down for this COVID situation again.
Like my first COVID experience, I remember I had coughs, I did have chills, I couldn't eat much, but I didn't have that many symptoms from what I remembered. I think it's because I was vaccinated at the time, and I guess the vaccine was at its fullest potential to protect me.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember, I mean, I watched anime, I just stayed in bed, I played games. Like it was just a good time for me. Like I had a good
That
first
sounds like
rodeo.
a kid's, like, when kids, I'm sick, mom, I can't go. I can't go to school. And then they just like, that's the same shit they would do.
I can't imagine being a kid now going through COVID. Like being in elementary or middle school and like going through COVID.
I don't know how I would feel. I'd be like, yeah, I get to stay home for like a week or two. But I'd be like, feeling like shit, eating soup every day.
I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more in my younger years, because I liked being at home, and I didn't like hanging out with people when I was younger. Probably would have been a good time.
Man, I don't know. I always joked about COVID when I healed up because I was hella lean. I looked good. I was like, I don't know if COVID was a good thing or a bad thing. Maybe a bad thing mentally, but a good thing physically because I look so good.
You look physically better.
I mean, I just lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
I lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, whenever I got COVID the second time, I was like, I don't have rolls anymore. I don't have side rolls anymore. This is kind of nice. I mean, I got smaller, but I was like, I kind of don't feel as gross as I normally do. It's kind of nice.
I don't know. I carry hand sanitizer everywhere I go now because of it. I have my mask as a backup. I used to have gloves in my car underneath my seat, just latex gloves, just in case. I used to have, well, I used to have like those little disinfectant wipe packs, just in case I need to wipe something down.
Dang.
I became really obsessed with it. Like I'm
Germaphobe.
like even before I was like I had that little hypochondriac thought inside me, but after it strike for real. Like I bought like a mask pack just in case.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I would imagine having anxiety and then the pandemic happening, worst combo.
But like even before pandemic hit, I didn't. Well, hold up, let me rephrase. I knew I had it, not to that extent.
Yeah,
And
that makes sense.
it just tsunami.
And it's nice because it's pretty socially acceptable now to be a lot more cleanly, to bring hand sanitizer everywhere. If you're wearing a mask, like the majority of people will not look at you weird. They're just gonna be like, I mean, it is what it is. Like this. We just live in different times now.
I don't know. I wear my mask at work too, and they have some elderly people. So you still wearing your mask? I'm like, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Like that's like the 5 or 10% where they're kind of like dumb. I don't want to.
I mean, they're insensitive.
That's a better word.
Yeah, they're insensitive.
They're quite insensitive.
And it's so funny when I bring it up. They're like, why do you still have your mask on? I'm like, let me think of something else besides COVID. It's the pollen in the air. I have really bad allergies. I don't want to breathe in and start sneezing everywhere and stuff. I just want to take care of myself. But in reality, it's just like to prevent all these.
Dude,
germs.
actually, I just realized that COVID, it almost flipped my way of living, like philosophically. I would say my biggest goal in life is to help people. But then, like coming from Louisiana and kind of seeing how we reacted to the pandemic, it made me hate people. And I fell into, I mean, a lot of stuff was happening too.
Hmm.
I think a lot of people's mental health really went down during the pandemic. I mean, basically just being alone with your own thoughts.
Hmm.
And you start to
I was spiraling.
self-sabotage, you
Yeah.
spiral, overthink. It's just a really bad time. But yeah, I started to hate people, man. It was bad. It was really bad. So I work in pharmacy. I'm a pharmacist, and it's basically my job to take care of other people. And I want people to wear their masks because during that time I was like, guys, you need to wear your mask because you have to. I understand that it's uncomfortable, but you have to think about like people with cancer, people with people that have immune suppression with whenever they take medications, or just like they have autoimmune diseases,
Hmm.
or they just their body is just weaker. Like if they catch COVID, it's gonna be a really bad time. They might end up in the hospital, or worse, they may end up dead. So
Definitely.
I was like, guys, you need to wear your mask, especially in the freaking pharmacy, because people come, they only come when they're sick, or they need to take
Yeah.
care of like some kind of condition. So having so many people not wear their mask, and for them to like make it about a constitutional right, it really rubbed me off the wrong way. And I actually became very bitter towards a lot of people.
Mm.
Like if you weren't wearing a mask, I would be like, you're scum.
No, let me ask you this: what if they wore the mask but they didn't cover their nose?
I think at least it's an attempt, right? I'll give them a pass because at least they're trying.
Hmm.
Versus if you're not wearing a mask, to me at that time in 2020, that was like a really big statement, and it was terrible because you ever watched the movie Inception?
I have, but I just don't remember much.
The biggest thing about the movie is if you plant an idea into your subconscious, then eventually it becomes like a flower. It becomes a plant. It becomes a tree, a giant oak tree.
Hmm.
So I had this idea at the beginning of the pandemic, and it was if you wear a mask, wearing a mask is this like the smallest sign of someone that has compassion. So if I didn't see you
Mm.
have a mask on
You have no
publicly,
compassion.
you
You're
are
a
literally
scum.
scum.
You're dirt
You
of the earth, bro. Wear a mask.
for real. I was like guys, it's a piece of cloth over your mask. Like people with asthma can still breathe with a mask on. You have
Hmm.
no excuses. And I think because of that, it just completely made me lose faith in humanity, and it made me realize I don't know if I want to keep doing pharmacy anymore.
Oh man,
It made me realize like
that
damn.
bad?
Yeah, I don't want to know. I don't know if I want to be a healthcare provider. I don't know if I want to be part of a profession that helps people with their health, because the majority of humans are selfish, and they're just like they don't care about others. And it hurts me. It hurt me really bad.
Definitely. Let me ask you this. So, let's say COVID never hit, it never even existed. Do you think you'd still be the same way you are now?
If COVID never hit, I would have not have switched. I would not have quit my job.
Mm.
I would not have quit my job. I am working in a different sector of pharmacy because of COVID. Essentially, it's just years, like the last 3 years accumulated, and now I'm like, all right, I don't want to be part of the public right now. I just have to leave, like right now,
Yeah.
or else I think at some point over time, whenever the vaccines came out and we were able to come back to some level of what we were in the past, I think that I felt a little bit better. I was able to help people a little bit more without, I guess, being bitter. But it took so much work. I spent probably like a year and a half just trying to be the empathetic, compassionate healthcare provider that I was pre-pandemic. Like I loved helping people. Like I just remember like I would help someone, I would shake their hand or I would pat their back just to show that I cared about them.
That's good.
Yeah, like I really, to me being a healthcare provider, like I had a lot of I was gonna say pride, but I guess it is pride. I did
Oh,
have a lot of pride with being like I just loved helping other people. Like it made me really happy. Well, I guess pride isn't the word. I think it's more like it just made me feel happy to be
joy.
helping others. Yeah, just I felt joy.
Mm.
And honestly, like pharmacy for the last couple of years have been pretty rough. So around summertime this year, I realized, okay, I think that I was able to capture enough joy back. It's time for me to take a step back and actually like leave pharmacy, leave like the sector of pharmacy that deals with the public a lot. Like I need to leave for a little bit. Like I just wanted it to like I wanted imagine like a candle
Mm-hmm.
and it was just like there's no fire for the longest time. I was like I just want
Jeez.
there to be a little ember. If there's a little ember and if there's just a tiny flame, then I could be like, okay, like there's hope. Like there's like I have peace with my career again, and I can do other things. And I was able to finally achieve it. And I was like, all right, now that I have that, I can peacefully try something else.
That's good. What a journey.
Yeah,
Dude, that. Wow.
I mean, there's so much stuff that happened during the pandemic. Did it affect you in any other ways besides just like you becoming a hypochondriac and I guess you having that traumatic experience with COVID?
I can't really say much has changed. I mean, still had to go to school. And I mean, school during COVID was okay. I just stayed home. But it made me lean towards the stay home aspect and just do class online. And my parents didn't like that. So I did go to class a lot more often. And I like that too. But it was just more convenient for me because I schedule my classes around my siblings' pickup time from school. So I'll be like very efficient. I do know that around COVID time, it was during my IT program days where if I was going to go through that major. And just doing that, I didn't enjoy it.
So, were you in undergrad at that time?
I was an
Essentially,
undergrad and
during the
then,
pandemic?
yeah,
Okay, okay.
I was an undergrad and then that's when I started my IT program as well. Just, I felt like I let myself down a lot in those times.
How so?
I worked my butt off to like get my grades, and then I wanted to go into this career path. Turning out like I didn't like it at all, and it upset me a lot because I just wanted it to work. I really wanted it to work out so I can enjoy it, but I just never enjoyed it.
Did you almost dislike it? Because I think that whenever you go and choose your career, your major,
Hmm.
what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life for the most part, for most people, it's like there is this amount of pressure. And I understand that I think it's kind of the mentality is you should be doing something you love.
Hmm.
And I don't think that's healthy.
There really isn't.
Yeah. I think at the minimum it should be at least neutral though. So for
Yeah,
you, I think you were below neutral.
below neutral in the sense like I
Like
was
you
just.
weren't even enjoying it at all. There's like one thing to enjoy it, so like that's positive, but then there's one thing to be like, "Oh, I could do this." And
Hmm.
it's like it's okay. Like it's not the funnest thing in the world, but I'm learning and it's going to pay well. And I think that's acceptable too. But when it comes to the point where you're studying these subjects and you're like, "Wow, I hate what I'm learning." That's when you should be like, "All right, maybe this ain't for me."
I can't say that because I know there's always moments where I don't want to study this. I want to do something
Well,
else.
that goes to studying as a whole. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, not many people want to study in general.
But no, like just studying in like for the actual career path that you want to go to, like I don't want to study this. I want to do something else in this degree. Because you know when people get a business degree, they work in different parts of it, but sometimes they just don't want to study a certain aspect.
For me, for the most part, pharmacy has two main sectors. They have the community setting, which is like
Hmm.
Walgreens, CVS, Walmart, which is I would consider that like the majority of pharmacist jobs. And then the second most popular is hospital jobs, where you work in a hospital and you kind of like make sure that the doctors are calling in the right like antibiotics for patients and stuff. And then there's a bunch of other niche fields. So I think if it helps you, even if you end up not really enjoying whatever major that you have, whatever you choose in the future, there's always different fields. And I think as long as you try to find something else and you actually are like ardent about it, like you actually put in the effort to look for it, you'll find some job that you find bearable or that you like, or yeah, as long as you don't hate it.
Yeah. I remember telling myself, yeah, I'm gonna find something I love. What a load of bullshit. I can't love everything, but I can't love one specific thing at the same time. And it hurt because I wanted to do so many things, but I just know it probably won't even work out. I'm telling you, man, I wanted to open up a gym. I look at the business aspect of it, and it's a really hard market to break through. I wanted to own a gym clothing brand. That's another hard one to break through.
You'll break through it, but you have to like stand out, right?
Yeah, and I don't know how to stand out. It was just an idea that I thought of.
I mean, I think that's part of just growing up. You just want to try a bunch of different things. I mean, what we're doing right now is it could end up.
Literally being out of my own box.
Yeah.
I've never thought about it.
Yeah.
It's like shit. Let's start a podcast. And I was
Like this could end up having one viewer, two viewers. It could end up having more viewers. But I think the fact that you're just trying new things, that's really good.
yeah, I've thought about the progress of our podcast, and you know what? If it fails, at least we did it. If it grows, I'm glad it grows. I mean, it is what it is. Like I said, I'm content with what I have right now. I should appreciate it more so I can progress. And just saying that to myself helps me a lot. It helps me go through my day. Like, well, at least I'm happy with what I have now.
Imagine if you could apply that to all aspects of your life.
I know. It would help so much. I wish I could have done this when I was younger. Because I was like, I found out I was very ungrateful about my life. Like, I went to school early. I didn't even want to go, but at least I was going. I know some people that never had the chance to go to school.
I understand that.
And that's, like, I really should have told myself this. And I remember you told me, like, working on the way we tell our life story. And I physically just, I sat down and I thought about it. I was like, what has my past self said about my self-worth? And I was very disappointed because I can name like a bunch of moments where I talk shit to myself as if it was nothing. And I'm pretty glad that I'm able to do that now instead of waiting till I'm like 40 or 50 and regretting it.
I also understand that on like a very spiritual level, because I also fall into the mode of where it's just like, damn, I wish I knew this earlier. I should have done this. And the word should is probably, I actually think it is the worst word for mental health, especially when it comes to people that struggle with anxiety or depression or just any mental illness in general. It's just like the word should to me is like a curse word in its own way, which is, I think it is a curse word.
Yeah.
It ends up damaging you a lot. I notice that people that are really depressed, they're like, I should do this, I should do that. If only I knew that, then I mean I should have done that. Like
Mine, I always think about the should have, would have, could have.
yeah.
Like, how do I even say it? It's almost like you're telling your past self, like you're talking shit to your past self,
Yes.
and you're self-sabotaging.
Yeah. And when you do that, you cannot be present. You cannot be happy. You cannot experience joy. Like there's no, if you keep on looping about, oh, things I should have done, it's just a bad time.
It really is. It's like, I remember a moment where I was living the moment, and then the should have, would have, could have situation popped up, and then the spiral happened.
It sabotaged your moment. It sabotaged your day.
I was not living it. I didn't want to go through that again. And that's where I'm just trying to stay present now. I physically just, when I'm by myself, I'm grateful for what I have now. I'm content with it. I should not worry about the past nor the future. And I sometimes do the 3-3 rule. That helps. And I can move on. That's my way of just canceling the problem immediately.
What is the 3-3-3 rule?
3 things you see, 3 things you hear, 2 things you feel. Or I just do 3 things of anything. Now, Because when it's nighttime and it's dark, I can't see anything. What can I feel? What can I hear? I mean,
I like the number 9.
9.
So just having 9 senses of anything.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you're laying in bed and you can't, and sight isn't a thing anymore. Then you could just focus on what can you feel, what can you hear.
Mm-hmm.
So that really helps to kind of recenter yourself. Something that really helps me, because I still, every once in a while, I'll get into the mode of, I'll get to a point where I'm so happy and so, like, I'm enjoying life so much. And I was like, wow, if only I could have, I dropped the
Mm-hmm.
C word,
The C word.
or I should have done this to kind of cut the time down, I could have been happy when I was like 20. But what I realized is I think that I probably started experiencing episodes of like depressive episodes and anxious episodes probably at the age of like 15 or 16. So I'm 29 now. So that's basically half my life has been just plagued with anxiety and depression, and that has, warped my life in so many ways, positively and negatively. I like to kind of think of things as I had to go through all of those things to get to this mind state. And they say that it's good to find meaning in your struggles. I mean, like there is beauty in your struggles. There is beauty in the struggle. And I will say that that's probably like a more healthier way of, I guess, coping with like the thought of, oh man, like I could have been happy 5 years ago. I could have been happy 10 years ago. Like, no, you had to go through all
Yes.
these things. You had to experience all those things to get where you are. Like, you are so much stronger because of everything that happened.
That's actually insane that you're talking about this, because I remember we talked about Avatar themes, and there was one quote I put down on my phone just so I can remember it. It's from Aang. He says, "When we hit our lowest point, we're open to the greatest change." And I keep it in my phone sometimes with some random quotes.
Dude, actually, that's so crazy that you said that because
Yo.
during so I host a self-care club.
Yeah.
And I actually brought that quote up. And I think that quote is actually from the Lion Turtle in the final
Really?
yeah,
Uh-oh.
from the final seasons.
But
No, in Legend of Korra, I think Legend of Korra he says that. But whenever Aang whenever he's like in the whenever he's younger, whenever he's trying to find a way to beat Ozai, Fire Lord Ozai, he tries to figure out a way how to like not kill him, and eventually the lion turtle he finds him. And let me find the quote real quick.
I don't know. Like, I've been on an Avatar binge, and there's so many deep meanings in the episode and quotes that I want to write down, but I'm just too lazy to, so I just embrace it in the moment. But I really needed to write that down.
All right, so let me tell you a good quote to write down maybe then. So my favorite quote from the series is, so the lion turtle ends up talking to Aang, and he says, "The true mind can weather all the lies and illusions without being lost. The true heart can touch the poison of hatred without being harmed. Since beginningless time, darkness thrives in the void, but always yields to purifying light."
Yo.
That is literally what we go through. That is literally the journey that you have gone through. Like, you have experienced all these darknesses, but at the end of the day, no matter what you go through, so there may be a time in your 20s where you end up being really depressed for a couple of months. It will always yield to the light in the end, though.
You're right. I mean, I've gone through some depressive stages. Every month or so. Maybe even longer. And it helps knowing that, I mean, one day it's going to be over. You've seen Stranger Things, right? You know what the upside down is like in the beginning? It's just dark and you're by yourself. That's what I felt like a lot. But after a while, I forced myself to open connections so I won't be in there alone. And it allowed me to progress differently. I mean, there's other ways I could have
Mm-hmm.
escaped that zone, but I'm glad I forced myself to do those things so I wouldn't have to endure it for much longer. But right now, I'm thriving, bro. I'm living life. I'm taking care of myself. I'm burying the hatchet of my own problems.
You're caught up, right?
Caught up in Stranger Things?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched it already.
I never watched Stranger Things
Oh, bro, what a show.
until
Oh, oops.
COVID.
Oh
So
my
the
god.
one good thing from my second time of getting COVID was I binge watched 3 seasons of Stranger Things. So I'm on the fourth season. I think I'm on episode 3 right now. But it's interesting because I initially wanted to watch Stranger Things because of what happens in episode 4. Like I know what episode it happens in,
Ooh.
but in episode
Nice.
4 of season 4, spoiler alert. So Max ends up, I think, being possessed by Vecna, and Vecna is a really good representation of like trauma, or like basically trauma. He is a good representation of trauma and depression and anxiety. Like he's a really good, like the Upside Down does represent that essentially, right? Because in the episode, I watched like a YouTube clip. It was just like 4 minutes, I think, and it was just literally just Max running from Vecna, and I was watching it, and whenever the song "Running Up That Hill" played, I was like, "Oh my god, this is a good scene! Like
I'm
so much
telling
is
you,
happening."
man. That really was a good scene. But the real question is, what song would help you escape?
I
Oh
love "Running
man,
Up That Hill," dude.
running up the
I
hill.
love that song. I sing that song. I still sing that song like every other day. I'll kind of like hum it. Like it's just a really good song. Like it what I really like about it is during that 4 minute clip, it's like it's such a good representation of depression because yeah, like everything that you're struggling, it's real. Your feelings matter, um your thoughts they do matter, but they are not your reality.
That's true.
So how I saw it when I first watched it from like an outsider perspective, because I was like, oh, like I've never watched Stranger Things. I don't know what this is about. But I kind of saw it as they show glimpses of just of Max being happy and having friends and having
Yeah.
people that care about her, but she's just isolating herself. And I think it's such a good representation of depression because like all the things that you should be happy for, all the things you should be grateful for, you can't feel it. You can't feel the joy, you can't feel the connection, and that's why people end up isolating whenever they have depression. They don't want to talk to anybody. And for her to like make it through it and realize like she just has to be present, like she just has to like get back to the people that love her and care about her, and she ends up making it out. I was like, oh my god, this is such a powerful scene. Like this.
You know what? I binge watched it with my siblings, and just seeing that scene where she's running out and then she escapes, right? And everybody's hugging her at the end when she escapes. I was like, the goosebumps, man, the chills.
She ends the scene with saying like, I'm still here, I'm still here. Like she's like
Yeah.
she is in shock, but then I think she ends the scene with saying, I'm still here. And I
Oh god.
think that is a very powerful line for anyone that goes through depression is at the end of the day, you are still here. You have the power to grow. You have the power to get out of it. And that goes back to the lion turtle quote that Aang says. Since beginning this time, darkness thrives in the void, but always yields to purifying light. Whether it's yourself, your friends, like your family, your significant other, like there is always light out there. You just have to find it. And sometimes you just have to be it too.
Ooh, that right there. That hits. You have to be your own light sometimes. That's what I gotta go through right now. But I got my homies by my side just in case if I need the extra support.
And you know who else can be your homies? This podcast. This podcast,
Yes.
guys.
This podcast can
So
be
we're
my
gonna
homies.
cut it off here for the day. I just want to say that wherever you are, just remember you're not alone, and there is always light. No matter how dark things are, there is always light. This has been Tommy and Alec in Thienletics.